What's up guys? So today I'm going to explain why you should maybe paint your rifle and how to do it. So painting a rifle is nothing new. The US military does it. I've seen it in all branches, and it's really just another implementation of camouflage. I personally don't have that much camouflage to match my environment as of right now. I do wear a lot of greens and browns, which helps, but in regards to actual patterns, I don't have that yet. So don't compare my final product with what I'm wearing currently. I do plan on getting camouflage to match my rifle, and it'll all make more sense. Maybe I'll make another video once I have those items. So on the civilian side, people will tell you not to paint your rifles because it'll ruin resale. And that's actually correct. Yes, you will ruin the resale of your rifle if you intend on selling it down the line. For me, my guns are tools and I treat them like that. I don't baby them. I mean, I drop them. I actually haven't thrown them, but I treat them pretty rough, and I want my guns to match my environment for any situation that may occur. I'm not saying anything will happen, but why not be prepared? Now, I'm not military, I've never served. I'm just somebody that, like I said, enjoys firearms and spending some time outdoors. So I want my rifle to match my environment just in case if something were to happen and there was civil unrest, or I don't know, the authoritative structure broke down in this country. I'm not a person that's looking for a fight. So if something were to happen, I would like to seclude myself away from people, and I don't want my rifle giving me up if I'm trying to hide or escape from somewhere. So I'm gonna paint my gun to match the environment that I'm in. I live in Georgia, so we have a lot of dark greens and tans, and some browns as well, year round. Now, our leaves do change colors, but what's consistent is browns, dark green, and tan. So I'm gonna kind of lean towards that, and I'll probably splash a little bit of black in there to blend the colors in together and break it up a little bit more. But the best way to figure out what colors you wanna paint your rifle is honestly just to go outside. Go for a drive and just look around for a while. Now, one tip I have is if you're outside looking around for the colors, people tend to look up and they will look and see, these trees are yellow or orange or bright green, but those colors are up high. We're down here. So try to keep everything eye level and pick out the colors you see repeatedly in your environment. Another good reason to paint your rifle is that it looks a little less menacing. When people think of guns, they think of movies and what they portray. And half the time, I would say probably 80% of the time in movies, guns are always jet black. And black has gotten a pretty bad connotation in our society. They're more menacing, threatening, and they just seem to scare people. So painting a rifle can kind of maybe lighten the load. It's obviously still a firearm, but it kind of takes away that menacing draw. And the last point I'll make is that painting a rifle is honestly fun. It's a tool, like I said. If you want to paint your rifle just to paint it, paint it. You don't have to be doing it for a specific cause. For me, it's 30% fun, and then like 70%, I want it to match my kid if I have to go out and do whatever. But yeah, just paint your rifle, like just do it. If you want to be different, if you want to paint it pink or yellow or bright orange, you can do that. No judgment on this channel. I just know what I'm going for, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. All right, so the first step in painting your rifle is choosing the colors. So you can just use spray paint to do this. I actually bought Rust-Oleum. I got the camouflage edition. So this is gonna be a matte finish. Most guns have this finish where there's kind of the sheen over it, and it reflects a lot more than you'd think. So if you do want to go that camouflage route, make sure you get something with a matte finish. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get some painter's tape and just start masking up the gun. You can mask up whatever you want or don't want, but there's some key things you do need to make sure you mask up. One would be if you have an exposed bolt carrier group, you're going to want to mask that up because you don't want to interfere with how the rifle functions and cycles. Any sort of sighting system, whether it be a red dot, holographic, LPVO, anything like that, you're gonna wanna tape up the glass, because once you get paint on that, I mean, you're kinda done. I guess you could still run it if you're occluding the dot and you're just using your dominant eye, but we wanna keep the glass as clean as possible, especially for the LPVO. You're not gonna be able to just occlude the dot because you have to see through the tube. Also, lenses on lights, that's another big thing you're gonna wanna tape up. How's the light gonna work if you can't shine through it? You're also gonna wanna tape up the muzzle. So whatever muzzle device you have, I guess you don't have to, but for me personally, I don't want paint getting in there and messing up the barreling. And I also don't want the paint to dry on the threads and I'm not able to take it back off and switch out muzzle devices. If you have something that connects to a suppressor, you definitely want to tape that up. You can tape up the grip if you'd like. I don't really care about that. I know once the paint's dry, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's gonna feel a little tacky at first, but that's just with any sort of paint. You're also gonna wanna paint your trigger. Now, I don't want paint getting up into the trigger mechanism. I know some people paint without covering the trigger, but I also don't want my trigger finger to feel tacky or have some weird texture. I want it to feel smooth when I'm trying to take a little bit more distant shots. Another thing you wanna make sure you paint is inside the mag well. Paint gets in there, I mean, like I said, it could affect how the gun cycles and everything like that. What I did, I made sure I put a mag in there and painted the magazine while I was in the gun, because I wanted at least one magazine to match the paint job that I was doing. And I actually painted 2 other magazines just so I could have a couple that match the new paint job. The last thing that's optional is the buttstock of the gun. I did it just because I still like to shoot a lot and I know I'm not gonna wait long enough to shoot before the paint dries. So I just didn't want any paint getting on my shirts when I started shooting again. So now it's time to paint. You're gonna wanna start with lighter colors and just get darker as you go. If you start dark and go light, you can kinda mess up the aesthetic of it and it doesn't really blend as well. I find that starting light and going darker has a better transition. If you don't want it to be splotchy, I would put the cans in warm water for just maybe 1 or 2 minutes and then make sure you shake the can up really, really well. But yeah, I went on pretty heavy. The throw was pretty consistent, so I didn't have too many splotches. But later on, you'll see that I actually purposely went back and made splotches because I liked the way it looked. But if you want it to be a clean base layer, yeah, just shake it up, keep it a little bit warm, and just take your time going back and forth. Make sure you hit the top and the bottom of the gun. A lot of people tend to miss that. They'll just do the side, flip it over and do the other side, but take your time and go over and hit the top and bottom. And once you finish that layer, just look around the rifle. For me, I noticed there were some spots in between my light and the gun that I didn't hit. I made sure to hit that. I found that I was missing certain spots near the mag well, and I missed some spots on the rail. So do the coating, let it sit for 5 to 7 minutes and just do a quick walk around. Then I flipped it over, did the same thing on the other side. Pretty heavy coat. I mean, I went over light, but I went over it a couple times repeatedly. And yeah, now you can see that I have this base layer of like this tan. And it came out pretty good. I almost wanted to leave it like that because I liked the way it looked, but I knew that wasn't the end result. All right, so now that I have my base layer, this is where it gets interesting. This can vary for a lot of people. People will tell you to go in streaks or maybe to go super, super light. I just kind of felt it out. So I got the green, the dark green, and I started going in horizontal stripes at first, but I noticed that when I was going over and over and over again, I was actually making the rifle almost completely green. So this was a learning experience for me, and this is why I'm saying if you're not comfortable doing this, just send it off and get it Cerakoted because it's not gonna be perfect. But eventually I figured out what I wanted to do and I started hitting it in more of a stripe pattern on the second side. But on the first side, I did almost kind of go a little too much with the green and it looked like one color. But this second layer was really fun because then I started seeing my vision. Now, if you're like me and you're uncertain about what you're doing, the cool thing about spray paint is that you can just go back and redo it. At certain points when I was painting, I was actually going over what I had just done. And my gun probably has 4 layers of paint on it at this point because of the redos that I did. So for me, I went back on the original side that I started with the greens, and I started making more prominent stripes. So with the blacks, this was tricky. I didn't want too much black on it, but I didn't want too little. I think I found the perfect medium for me personally. You might have a different opinion, but that's the best part about this. We can kind of customize it to the way we want. So with the black, I actually tried to make sure I hit in between the tan and the green lines so they'd kind of fade into each other. I went a little too hard at first, But like I said, it's paint. Once it dries, you can go back over it. And at first I had a little too much black. It started looking like the original gun at one point. So I went back with the greens, and then I kind of dabbed in some tans. And then once I had enough blacks, you know, kind of splotched around and make sure I got some on the scope, I actually did something really cool. I went and got some grass that was just laying right next to me. I frayed it out and laid it on the rifle, and I started spraying over it. And I got some pretty cool designs. I did that on both sides, and I also did it on the magazines as well. And I am a huge fan of how that came out. All right, so this is the final product. As you can see, you know, got my tans, my dark greens, which I was really going for. I still have some grass on here that I need to take off, but I thought that'd help with some of the designs when I'm painting it. I also painted the charging handle. I know some people cover that, but I mean, I think it's fine. Yeah, and as you can see, I have a lot of those weird designs on the gun, and I think it really breaks up the outline of the firearm. I still have the tape on it. I'm just gonna wait till it's completely dry to take all that off. But this rifle was fun to paint. Also, another thing, if you wanna mask over your pressure pad, you can. I painted mine because I don't care, and this light, I don't plan on having it for long. I mean, I painted this just to have it match the rifle, but I don't intend on having this light for too much longer. But yeah, this came out way better than I expected. It's still a little tacky. It's not flaking or anything, but I'm excited to use this rifle in this configuration. I'm even more excited for the paint to start to wear, and it looks a little bit more battle worn, if you must. But yeah, that is how you paint your rifle. Let me know what you guys think about my paint job. I'm gonna let that dry overnight. And also let me know what you would do differently. I've also gotten a lot of questions about my rifle setup, so I'll do a breakdown of that pretty soon, and I'll post that for you guys, and you can tell me what you think about it. But yeah, I'm really happy on how it came out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.